Happy Saturday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. I have the special pleasure of being joined by two of my great friends, Alex Glaze, Mark Zinno. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Morning.
Good morning. Guess what? All I have to say is one thing. Hail to the victors, valiant hail to the conquering heroes. Big game today, guys. Only in a couple hours. I am so pumped up for it. I'm on my third cup of coffee this morning. Let's get it. Are you ready? Are you ready? There's a full slate of unreal games today. All of the rivalry games. Mark, how pumped are you for today?
It's the kind of Saturday where if you haven't been able to put on a pair of regular pants since Thursday like I have, you just kind of sit there in sweats and enjoy the fact that it's a full day of great college football.
Alex, what gets you most pumped up? This is my favorite Saturday of the entire fall. I love rivalry week. I can't even say it.
Well, listen, what gets me pumped up? Listen, this is going to be a great game, but if you're asking me honestly, looking at the weather for next Friday, 60 degrees. I already got my tea time set up. I'm pretty pumped about that. I think I'm more excited about next Friday than I am today, personally. If you're asking me honestly, but today's going to be a great slate of games next Friday, 60 degrees. I already got my tea time set up. I'm pretty pumped about that.
Oh, before we
I think I'm more excited about next Friday than I am today. Personally, if you're asking me honestly, today's going to be looking at the weather. Great slate of games next Friday, 60 degrees. I already got my tea time set up. I'm pretty pumped about that. I think I'm more excited about next Friday than I am today. Personally, if you're asking me honestly, today's going to be looking at the weather. Great slate of games next Friday, 60 degrees. I already got my tea time set up. I'm pretty pumped about that. I think I'm more excited about next Friday than I am today.
Today's
going to be looking at the great slate of games. I think I'm more excited about next Friday than I am today. Today's going to be looking at the great slate of games.
You have an unranked Penn State team going to Michigan Atlantic points, which is really scary. I would lean on Michigan State in this game. You have an unranked Penn State team going to Michigan Atlantic points, which is really scary. Iowa State's really bad offense, or Michigan State is bad defense. You have Michigan State's really bad defense, State take out Michigan Atlantic points. Iowa State's really bad offense, or Michigan State be able to take advantage of it. You have Michigan State's really bad defense, probably not. Again, it's not fun to win. Iowa State's really bad offense, Michigan be able to take advantage of it. You have Kenneth Walker, probably not. Again, it's not fun to win. Iowa State offense is okay. You have a better Kenneth Walker, probably not. Offense is okay. Me, you have a better Kenneth Walker, probably not. Offense is okay. Me, you have a better Kenneth Walker, probably not.
This is just a lane. I would leave offense okay. Me, obviously, this is just a defense. I would leave pretty good. Pretty good against listen, that's not going to get it done. Defense. I would leave pretty good against listen, that's not going to get it done. So I'll lay them pretty good. I look at this line. It's almost like taking listen, that's not going to get it done. So I'll lay them pretty good. I look at this line.
Right now, the under is hit in the last five.
Listen, that's not going to get it done. So I'll lay them pretty good. I look at this line.
Right now, the under is hit in the last five.
Listen, that's not going to get it done. So I'll lay them pretty good.
I'm leaning against as an underdog in the last five.
That's not going to get it done. So I'll lay them pretty good.
The fact that you guys as an underdog in the last five, what does it say about the fact that you guys as an underdog in the last five, what does it say about
Michigan State played fire all year long. They played with fire against Nebraska. They almost lost to Indiana. They didn't separate from a lot of teams, and the chickens came home to roost against Ohio State. And so you saw sort of the holes that this Michigan State team had. I think there's some of that. And also it's a motivation factor after this point. Michigan State now kind of officially out of the college football playoff picture, out of the Big Ten championship picture. So what do they have left to play for? Well, I would argue that Mel Tucker, who is as good as a coach as there is in college football, off of his fresh 10-year extension, was rewarded with a beatdown. I think that for him, this is an important game to win. Get to double digits after, what was it, a 3-win season last year. To get to 10 wins in the regular season this year means something to him. It means something to his players. So I certainly believe he's treating this game as something that's very, very important. And the possibility still exists that they could be in a New Year's Six Bowl when it's all said and done. So I wouldn't shy away from that portion of things for Michigan State. I think it's very important for them, and it'll be a factor that I think you should measure when laying on this game.
Let's take it about an hour south now. We got a big game coming up, guys. In Ann Arbor, Michigan. At the Big House. Ohio State taking on the University of Michigan. I am taking Michigan and the points in this one. Plus, I locked it in at +7.5 a little bit earlier this week, and I'm feeling really good about it. Alex, not so much. Alex is on the other side of this one.
Listen, I was feeling phenomenal about this game all week until last night. Last night, I'm enjoying my evening, watching college basketball, watching the Duke-Gonzaga game. Great game, friends, it's all good. And then I see that the line moved in Ohio State's favor. And all week, I haven't been feeling great because, I mean, the money's going to pour in on Ohio State.
Yeah.
But with the money pouring in on Ohio State and then the line moving in your favor, red flags, just all the red flag emojis. So I'm just sitting there. And it ruined my night, to be honest with you. Like, I'm just miserable. But I'm still
one spritzer ruins your night, Glaze. Who are you kidding?
Maybe I haven't learned, and I just love like misery. But I'm still good with this Ohio State pick. I was talking with Jared earlier in the week, and at that point in the week when I talked to him, it was 8, and I thought maybe we could see 8.5. And
are you guys talking behight my back? You and Jared? Is there like a separate text thread that's going on?
Yeah, we got a separate text thing. Sorry.
That's good to know.
Sorry to bring that up to you. But listen, you just look at – there's so many factors when I look at this game. I look at Michigan and their history, Jim Harbaugh's history in big games, big spots. This is a huge game because if Michigan wins this game and wins the Big Ten championship, they're in the playoff, right? But it'd be the most Jim Harbaugh thing for them to win this game and then lose to Wisconsin. That would be the most perfect thing. But when I look at this game, Ohio State, they've won – 5 of the past 6 meetings. Ohio State's offense is rolling. And the thing people want to talk about when they talk about Michigan is their defense, right? Lauren, you know this better than I do.
That's the reason that they're going to hang in this game.
But that Michigan secondary is not good. If they're going to win this game, it's going to be –
They're not bad, though. Their secondary is not bad. Like, Michigan State secondary is not good. I would say Michigan secondary is average to above average.
But if Michigan's going to win this game, it's because they can get to C.J. Stroud, right? It's going to be because of Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, right? Like, that's why they're going to win this game, because they just have, got to Stroud. But I think it's asking a lot to ask the Michigan secondary to stick with, I think, the best receiving corps of the country. Like, I see this being either Michigan wins outright or Ohio State just blows them out like they did Michigan State last week. That's how I see this game.
Yeah, Mark, what's your take on this one?
Well, I'm actually going to be Switzerland here because I'm not taking Michigan or Ohio State, and I'm looking at the under in this spot here.
Oh, so you just want to be miserable watching this game?
Well, listen, under sweats are only second to meat sweats, which I had on Thursday.
Alex is very familiar with the under sweat.
So the way the math works out here, guys, it's really simple. If the over comes in, it's because Ohio State scored 50 and blew them out, just similar to exactly what they did against Michigan State. And so I trust Michigan's defense enough to keep them in this game. We were talking before the show started. I don't see Michigan at any point in time having more than a 1-score lead in the game, even if they get it. And from that standpoint, if they do, I'm going to be loving life because I don't think that aids the over. I think what it aids is that Michigan can run their offense and continue to grind this thing down and slow down the pace as much as possible, because the best way to slow down this Ohio State offense is to keep them off the field. And when you look at it, even if Ohio State blows out Michigan, I still trust their defense enough that the blowout looks something like 38-13, right? Like somewhere in that range. I trust Michigan enough to keep Ohio State under 40. If they do that, is Michigan going to get to 30 in this game? My gut says no, they're not. Like, their offense is sort of the Achilles heel of this Michigan team. They haven't really been able to score on good teams this year at a high level. And when they did, again, it was the Michigan State game against a really bad defense. So when I put all this together, for me, it adds up to an under 64.5 that I got earlier in the week. Another line has moved a little bit. You may see some 64s out there, but I just think that this will be a much slower pace. I don't really know, and sorry, Lauren, I don't really care who wins the game, but I do think that this is more of a slower style muck it up. I have a hard time believing this is a 38-35 win for Ohio State in that range. And I've been telling everybody this all week long. You don't do it often in college, but Ohio State puts me at a prime teaser leg when it was at 8 or even at 7.5, even at 7, and you get Ohio State down to less than a field goal. If you find a dance partner, I think there are plenty of them out there this weekend. And I know that Vegas has taken a lot of teaser action on Ohio State, especially earlier in the week when the number was around 7.5. I think it's a prime spot to take Ohio State. I don't get sucked up into narratives that much about, it's, Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh didn't have Cade McNamara at quarterback last year. Ryan Day didn't have C.J. Stroud. So whatever happened last year doesn't play into this game. I don't think you got to be very careful with narratives, guys. And I get it's Jim Harbaugh and he hasn't beaten a ranked opponent. All that stuff. I don't want to put that into my handicap because then I'm going to start thinking emotionally about the thing and not objectively. So I wouldn't get too sucked up in the narratives. This is a different Michigan team. This is the best Michigan defense Jim Harbaugh has had in a really long time, if ever.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think this is the most complete Michigan team that Jim Harbaugh has had ever. And I think it's going to be one of the most physical teams or the most physical team that Ohio State has seen this season. I think that the Michigan's defense is going to be the biggest defensive challenge that Ohio State has seen this season. And I know C.J. Stroud, what did they have? It was 49-0 at halftime last week. He put up it was his Heisman performance game, right? Everyone needs a Heisman game. I have a really good feeling he's going to be winning the Heisman this year. But I think that Michigan is going to challenge them. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. So I think that if Ohio State gets up by 2 touchdowns, 2 scores, it's over. Michigan has to abandon their entire game plan, and they have no chance of winning this game. If they can keep it close and stick with Ohio State the entire time, I think that they can play their game plan, stay within their plan. I know Ohio State's defense is exceptional against the run, but I think Hassan Haskins is going to be phenomenal in this game. I think Cade McNamara just has to not lose them the game. He doesn't necessarily need to win Michigan the game, but he can't, protect the ball. Don't throw interceptions. Don't turn the ball over. And I think that if Michigan can stay within their game plan and stay close in this one, that's the way that it's going to be close. And that's the way that they're going to win this game.
So you guys
I have
both see
Michigan
this.
in the points, but I'm also sprinkling it on the money line. But the money line is more of a heart bet for me just because I have to.
So you guys, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same picture. You guys both see this as Michigan coming out and, ground and pound, win ugly, just keep that Ohio State offense off the field, as opposed to coming out and putting the ball in Cade McNamara's hands like we saw in the Michigan State game, because Ohio State's secondary is not great. They give up big chunks of yards. So if they wanted to, if they want a shootout, that could happen too, maybe, right? How do you see them more trying to just run the ball and speed them off the field?
Here's the other thing that has aided Ohio State, and you talk about their performance last week. It's the 3rd time this year Ohio State has hit their team total over in the first half. And what happens is when they get up by 2 scores, coaches panic and they drop back and they want to throw, which, as bad as Ohio State's I shouldn't say it's bad. Ohio State's average secondary can be beaten. But what makes them better is when their front 7 knows they can pin their ears back and rush because they're dropping back to pass for 3 consecutive downs. And that's where Ohio State takes advantage, because they can get to the quarterback and they can apply pressure. If Jim Harbaugh has enough patience and enough restraint to understand, even if he gets down 14-0 early in the first quarter leading into the second quarter, do not panic. This is where coaching is important. This is where coaching matters, because a 14-0 lead is not insurmountable. You just have to figure out a way to chip away at it and hope your defense cannot make it a 3-score game, because then really that's when you push the panic button. 3 scores is hard to come back from. But I would argue, Lauren, that if it does get to 14-0 early, and by early I mean, more than 10 minutes left in the second quarter. So anywhere between, into the second quarter and the first 5 minutes, if it's up 14-0, I still think that's early. When you get towards, the latter part of the second half, even if they go down at halftime 14-0, I don't think they're in bad position. I don't think it's insurmountable, but I would be shocked if it was 14-0 at halftime, by the way. But that's what I'm saying, Glaze. I just think it's one of those things where the game plan has to go one way for Michigan to win this. There's no other game plan for Michigan to win other than ground and pound and slow the thing down. You're not getting in a shootout with Ohio State. That's a terrible idea. That's awful.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do. I mean, they won't win if that happens.
Yes.
Speaking of a shootout or not so much, let's take you to the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn this year, which I was actually going to go to that game, but I'm working tonight, so cannot. But I'm almost watching it like an hour away from my seat here in Atlanta. So that's going to be a really exciting game. Alex, who you got for this one and why?
Yeah, so listen, weird things happen in the Iron Bowl, especially at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn's lost 3 straight. These are just 2 teams trending in completely different directions. Alabama, they're playing for a playoff spot. They're not going to come out flat and be looking ahead to the SEC championship game. Auburn, as bad, this is still the Iron Bowl. Like, there's still some pride to be had in this game, especially at home. Bo Nix went out. They got TJ Finley getting his first Iron Bowl appearance in this game. And, it seems like everybody's on Bama, but I'm going to take the 20.5 points and go with Auburn. I did this last week with Arkansas. It took 22 points. What was it, 21? 21 or 22 points with Arkansas, just because, Alabama struggles against the run. And I just saw, what does Arkansas do? They run the ball and play defense. That's what Auburn does too. They want to run the ball, and their defense has been okay at times, not great, but I think they do enough to cover 3 scores, especially that Alabama offensive line, kind of shaky. So there's some potential there for some things to happen. I don't know if they win the game, but 20.5 points, that's a ton of points to lay in an SEC road rivalry game. So I would take the points, kind of throw the stats out about how Bama's offense is this, that, and the third. It's the Iron Bowl. It's just 2 points to lay for me.
I like the over in this one. 57.5 seems low to me for the amount.
I don't know how Auburn scores. Like,
okay, but
Alabama is scoring 44 points per game right now.
I know, but I don't see how they score enough for that over to hit. Is what I'm saying. Like,
that's Mark. That's coming from the guy that bets unders probably 3 times a day.
Yeah, I get it, but Glaze, if you don't know how they're going to score, why would you trust them getting the points?
31-17. 31-17.
All right, so here's
31-17. That's how I see it.
Sure. Full disclosure, no play on this game because simply when I bet, all I try to do is eliminate variance. And if I can't eliminate the variance, I just walk away from the game. What I can't eliminate, there's just too much in this game for me to actually put my money on because I can't get out of my head. Alabama's game against Florida, Alabama's game against Tennessee, and last week against Arkansas, and even the LSU game, which may be a similar style, to what we see today. But the fact that they were scored upon to me is very troublesome. Now, if it was Bo Nix playing this game, I easily would take the points with Bama, and I would run to the window.
You would be getting 20.5 points if Bo Nix is playing.
You'd be getting 18. You'd be getting 17. Like TJ Finley, and like it's not.
You think?
Yes. There's no way. There's no way you're getting a touchdown based off of Bo Nix to TJ Finley. Like Bo Nix is good, but he's not that. The difference is that Bo Nix has played with the offense all year long. Like Bo Nix has shown flashes where he can be really good. TJ Finley has looked bad every time he's touched the football, and it hasn't been much this year. I just don't know what I can get from the Auburn offense. It's a really hard stretch for me to ask them to get to 17. They got to 17 last week against South Carolina, whose defense is middle of the road at best in the SEC. Like Bama's defense is actually good. Their run they only give up 85 yards a game on the ground. Like I can't look at this situation objectively and trust either side. And I agree with you, Glaze. It's the Iron Bowl. There's a lot of pride in it. Auburn certainly wants to win. They'd love to play spoiler right now and eliminate Alabama from the college football playoff with a loss here. So I certainly think there is part of that whole thing, but I just can't trust either side right now to give me any semblance of consistency that I can eliminate the variance to put my money on. I do agree with you, Lauren. It's a very depressed total at 57 because Alabama hasn't really had a partner that can push them above it, right?
Yeah.
When the number comes in like that, if Alabama gets to 40, do you trust that, Auburn can get to 17? Maybe, but that feels like, again, it's a real question mark at this point in time. And trusting Alabama to get to 40 hasn't always been the easiest decision at this point in time because of what we've seen offensively in certain spots. So, again, way too much variance for me. It's a stay-away game, run-away game for me.
We got a comment in the chat here that I want to get to real quick. We got Joey Skinner saying.
While you're doing the comment, guess what? My computer's about to die, so I'm gonna go
so
get my
duck
computer.
Duck out.
This is live TV, guys. You love to see it. You love to see it.
So we got Joey Skinner here. Says he lives in Alabama, watched Alabama and Auburn both play live. LSU fan, very familiar with LSU transfer TJ Finley. Auburn may not score more than 10 points. That's what Joey says.
I have to say,
the thing is,
I just don't like watching him last week against South Carolina. A game I bet on South Carolina. I took him on the money line as well because it was just a ripe spot. Does another week of practice with the first team offense help him? Maybe. Yes. Is it enough for me to put my hard-earned money on? No, it's not. Yeah. I just don't trust it. I can't trust the offense at this point. Would it shock you if Alabama won this game 40-10?
No, but I just can't bring myself to just lay 20.5
no,
points.
I wouldn't lay the points with Alabama at all. I wouldn't lay it at all. I agree with you. It's not a comfortable spot for me to trust. Every time Alabama's been a 3-touchdown favorite, they've been on the wrong side of it in the SEC. Tennessee, Florida, LSU, and last week against Arkansas. I'm tired of getting hurt by Alabama and not people's ass the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Could you see the committee, this hypothetical question, could you see the committee drop Alabama out of the top 4 if they have a shaky showing versus Auburn, but still win, Mark?
No. They're pretty slow. No, you're talking to the anti-Cincinnati guy, so I'm not going to find a way to put Cincinnati in. I just don't believe they belong there because every other team in the top 10.
They're already in.
Glaze, of course, has to be for the little guy.
I don't like Cincinnati.
Glaze loves it when Florida Gulf Coast gets to the Sweet 16. He just loves it.
Listen, here's what we're gonna get, guys, and we're getting off topic here, but we're gonna get either Cincinnati's gonna get their teeth kicked in by Georgia, or Notre Dame's gonna get their teeth kicked in by Georgia. Which one?
I'd rather have Notre Dame.
But
because
I need to see Cincinnati just because I'm tired of seeing Brian Kelly lose in those games. He doesn't deserve to be.
Don't like Notre Dame. You just don't like Notre Dame.
Do I have to put a plate of liver in front of you to tell you that it tastes bad? Just trust me, it tastes bad. You don't want to eat it. You don't have to put Cincinnati in the college football playoff to know that they're going to get their butts kicked. Trust me, it's going to happen.
Put Mike Gundy in there. We'll get to that later. Put Mike Gundy.
All right, let's head south. Let's head south from Atlanta, take it to the Sunshine State. Florida State taking on Florida, the game that everyone's talking about this week. And not. But the loser of this game doesn't go to a bowl game. So there is a lot to play for, Alex. Who do you like in this spot?
Yeah, I'm going to take the 3.5 points with Florida State. It's really interesting that Florida State has turned things around kind of quietly. Rough start to the season, really rough start. But they've quietly won 5 of their last 7 games. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, maybe you have in the South there, but Florida's kind of a dumpster fire. A little bit going in a little bit of a tailspin.
The whole state or the football team? I'm just curious.
We
probably a little bit of both.
We're talking football. But
gotcha.
Dan Mullen fired. Other coaches before that, including their defensive coordinator, fired. There's a lot going on, and I just don't like that when you consider. This is a must-win game if they want to go bowling. A lot of voices now. Who's their leader? It's just a lot of voices, a lot of outside noise, a lot of people checking the transfer portal, a lot of people not sure about their future at Florida. Meanwhile, Florida State just rolling. And Jordan Travis, when he's playing quarterback,
rolling, they're hating.
When Jordan Travis is playing quarterback for Florida State, all he does is win. 5-2 as a starter. So. Yeah. I'm going to take the points with Florida State. I know it's at the Swamp, but I don't think there's going to be any Gator fans at the Swamp that are too enthused. So I'm going to take the points there.
Mark, question for you. Do the Gators come out with a different energy in their first game since Dan Mullen was fired, or do they kind of just keep doing what they're doing?
Like the energy of, hey, guys, as soon as we play in this game, we're done practicing and let's call it a season. If that's the level of energy, yeah. Look, if either one of you guys tried to go make a bet on Florida, I would literally tackle you, take your money, and never let you have it back. There is zero reason to bet on Florida in this game. If you get it at 3.5, you might be able to talk me into Florida State. I don't love Florida State. I would lean on them in this spot because, yes, bowl eligibility to them matters for as bad things have been there. For them being in the bowl actually is somewhat important. You think Florida wants to prolong the agony of this season by winning a game, like winning another game and going to having to play a bowl game? Hell no, they don't. There's zero. No, I don't. To them, a bowl game. Look, I'll tell you this much. If they win this game and get to a bowl game, I can't wait to hammer whoever they're playing in the bowl game is, because they will absolutely not win that game. They'll lose to somebody from the MAC or somebody from wherever in that game, and I can't wait to do it. So from that standpoint, yes, I would hammer against Florida in a bowl game if they get there, but I just don't see it. It's not a wise bet. I mean, Greg Knox is the interim coach right now. What does he have to motivate these players? What does he have in this game? I mean, it wouldn't even shock me if the athletic department said to him, hey, let's play a lot of the younger kids today. Let's see what we got. Let's get these kids something to hang on so we don't lose dudes in the transfer portal. Let them play a full game and see if we can keep some of these kids here instead of we don't have a mass exodus out of this program as we're looking for a head coach. So, yeah, no, just complete stay away from me. If I get 3.5, yeah, I could take Florida State. If I see it pop up, I would do it. But beyond that, not much interest.
Here's the thing. It's like I was actually kind of looking at Florida laying the points, to be honest with you, even though you say it's a bad bet. Here's the thing. I realize the Gators have looked awful lately. They lost 4 of their last 5. They failed to cover in all 5. You're like, what are you thinking? Blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you guys, the rivalry game gets to people. It's something about a rivalry game that people come out of the freaking woodworks and they like play their little asses off. You know what I mean? Like they go out and they fight for those rivalry games. I don't think much of Florida State. So to say less than a field goal at home with an SEC team against a decent ACC team, it's something that I'm willing to do. It's something that I'm willing to do and take a chance on. And here's the thing, pure odds wise, they haven't covered the spread in the last 5 games. At some point, they're going to cover the spread. At some point, they are. Just pure odds. I'm a math person. Pure math.
Lauren, you realize you are
going to cover this spread.
You realize you're trying to talk yourself into backing a team that almost lost to Stanford, right? Like at the Swamp. Like you realize that's the team you're talking. You realize that's the team you're talking. They were down 42-35 to Stanford.
Yeah, I honestly haven't put in that bet yet, but that's what I was looking at. But maybe I'll
save your money. Or you could send that money to me. Just Venmo me the money that you would have put on the bet. I mean,
I take that money and just put it on the Michigan money line. It's better. Honestly.
Okay, I'll take that money and I'll put a little bit more. I'll put a little bit more than a sprinkle on the Michigan money line.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
You got to pay up for that.
I appreciate you. People helping people. Okay. All right. Let's take it back to the great state of Georgia right now. Georgia at Georgia Tech. Spread is 35.5 right now. This is a game where Georgia Tech is 4-7 against the spread this season, 1-4 against the spread at home, and Georgia's 3-0 against the spread on the road. Alex, who do you like for this one?
So full game. I mean, I played Georgia and I'd lay the 35 points. I post certain picks on Twitter. I kept that as a private play, made that public now because we're all family here. But listen, I played first half and I played full game. I'll talk about the first half later and my play of the day. But the full game, there's just no reason to back Georgia Tech in this spot. Yeah. And I say that I like Jeff Collins. We're Peloton friends, like good dude.
Friends. The true sign of friendship in 2021.
Listen, we're Peloton friends. That's my guy.
Jeff Collins. What a trio.
That's my guy. But they're having a rough season, coming off that 55-0 loss to Notre Dame. Have only covered in 2 games this season. What? You can't be Peloton.
I just can't get over the Peloton.
You can't be Peloton friends with a guy. What's going on? What?
Oh, you're not Peloton friends with me. Come on now.
You're not friends with me. Glaze and I are Peloton friends.
Lauren, let's be Peloton friends. I mean, listen.
I'm all for it.
Am I just like over here riding my Peloton on my own island?
Yes.
I mean, maybe. I mean, yeah. Now I can send you like when I'm hopping on some rides. Little
I'm
hills.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Here for it. Okay.
But then we're talking about Georgia here, right? I mean, I don't need to go into Georgia's defense and, what they do. They've been asked to cover some massive numbers this year.
Yeah.
And they've done it more times than not. 7 of 9 games they've covered this year. Georgia Tech's defense ranks 114th in the country. I just see this one getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Even if Georgia puts in second, third string people in the second half like they should, as they get ready for the SEC championship game. I just don't see Tech doing enough to cover the 35 points, unfortunately. Yeah. I'm just I'll lay the points.
Mark, speaking of the SEC championship game coming up, could this be one of those games where it's kind of a look ahead spot for Georgia, not necessarily to lose the game, obviously, because I don't really think there's a chance, but for maybe to Georgia Tech to have a backdoor cover or something like that.
I think the backdoor is absolutely open. I mean, the only play for me in this game is Georgia minus the points in the first half, because Kirby Smart is not going to run it up against his in-state fellow coach and rival in a place where he has to recruit from to the same recruiting base and everything else. That's not him. He will absolutely pull his foot off the gas pedal. You'll see every reserve in the second half of this game, mostly because he doesn't want to get anybody injured going into the SEC championship game. So he is going to absolutely pull his foot off the gas pedal. I think they sprint out to a 28-0 lead, cover in the first half, but I think the backdoor is absolutely wide open because Jeff Collins, as a guy, is going to make his guys play hard for 4 quarters. And so from that standpoint, Glaze, you got more guts than me. I wouldn't lay it for 4 quarters in this game because I just don't see where Georgia is going to continue to pour it on. If Georgia covers this game, it's because they scored 35 in the first half and they only need to kick a field goal or score a touchdown in the second half, and their defense won't give up any because Georgia's second-team defense is still good enough to start on every SEC team in the conference. So from that standpoint, it's going to be a very low-scoring. And look at the second half under, guys. Depending on what the number comes out, if you want to look at a game, if you're getting the second half under and you're around 22, 24 points, I might actually play it just because I think from that standpoint, Georgia's defense is good enough to not let Georgia Tech score. And if they do, it's only a touchdown. And I don't see Georgia Tech putting up more than 10 points in the second half of this game, especially if they're out 28-0 already by halftime. So for me, it's a tale of two halves. I've already played the first half, Georgia minus 21 with my own money. I'll wait to see at halftime what the number looks like, but that's the only way I break this game down.
I want to ask you a question real quick, Zeno, because you brought up recruiting and Kirby not wanting to run it up on his in-state rival. I actually disagree. I think that's the opposite. Because, I mean, listen, you're in Georgia. What you've seen is Jeff Collins is recruiting. He's not recruiting against Kirby right now, but he's getting those 4-star in-state guys. And this is the game that Jeff is going to have all of the big Georgia recruits on the sideline for. Yeah. So I think Kirby will try to run this thing up to show them, like, hey.
Look, okay, so let's look at a sample set, okay? And I'll give you a
I'm talking about he's getting the 4-star guys, but he's going to have the 5-star guys on the sideline.
I'll give you a rewind and a fast forward. Last year during the COVID year, remember who canceled on homecoming weekend? Remember who canceled them? No. Yeah, it was Vanderbilt. Remember the score of the Vanderbilt game this year? 62-0. Okay?
That was Vandy, yeah.
Now, look ahead. Remember what Mark Stoops did to him this year in the Kentucky game. Remember it. Next year, when they play, watch what he does to Kentucky. Kirby is like a petty little coach. He remembers this stuff, and he puts it in his memory bank, and he comes back. That's why the same thing. He's got no problem running it up on Florida because Dan Mullen ran his mouth for 3 years. So no problem burying that team 6 ways to Sunday. Kirby has a lot of respect for a lot of coaches, and he conducts himself like a professional. But when you cross him, Kirby remembers. Trust me. He's not going to cross Jeff Smart in this spot. I just don't see it. I think he'll pull his foot off the gas pedal.
Okay. I like it. I honestly am staying away from this game. I have no play whatsoever, but I like the banter between you guys. Big fan, huge fan. All right, Clemson at South Carolina. Spread right now is 11.5. Clemson is the favorite in this game. Mark, who do you like?
Like South Carolina. I like him getting 11.5 here. Look, Shane Beamer still has this team motivating and wanting to win games. They got bowl eligible last week. However, Clemson this year is 0 against the spread as a double-digit favorite. Laying 11.5. I know their offense has been reinvigorated. They've scored, I think, 40 points in 2 of the last 4 games. Their offense looks a lot better than it did in the beginning of the year. But I just don't trust them in this spot laying that many points. Do I think Clemson can win? Yeah, absolutely they can win. In fact, they have won, I think, the last 8 times in they've covered the number 8. They're 8-0 against the spread the last 8 times against them. However, in Columbia, they are just 6-2 against the spread there. So I think there's a little bit of a play here on South Carolina. I also like them. I mentioned the tease with Ohio State. If you get me to South Carolina plus 17.5 in this spot at home in a rivalry game, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great spot to tease South Carolina up to 17.5. Again, not a big teaser in college, but I think there are some pretty prime opportunities. So when I look at this game, this is about South Carolina wanting to prove that they can play with the big boys. It's certainly personal for them. Clemson can still be had, especially defensively. They're not as strong as they used to be. I look for a tight one here, but I like the Gamecocks.
Alex, how about you? I think you're on the Gamecocks too, yeah?
I am. I'm going to take the 11.5 points, put it in my pocket. Too many points in a rivalry game. And I think people are back to sipping the Kool-Aid with Clemson. When you look at their past 4 games, they've scored 30-plus points in those games, but it's against Florida State, against Louisville, against Connecticut, against Wake, all those defenses outside the top 50, and 2 of them outside the top 110 in college football. So they're playing nobody. South Carolina's defense ranks 48th. So, their defense is going to step up. And I'm more so banking on the Gamecocks' defense than their offense, because their offense stinks. But their defense, 23 takeaways this season. Clemson's offense is no good. So I think that if you're going to be potentially putting South Carolina in a position where they're playing with short fields, I like the 11.5 points. And I'm trusting the defense at home in a rivalry game.
Yeah. I mean, South Carolina is 4-2 against the spread, 5-1 straight up at home this year. So numbers to keep an eye on. Even though sometimes stats are for losers, you sometimes like listening to stats at the same time. Oklahoma taking on Oklahoma State. Could we see either of these teams in the college football playoff, even if we got Alabama, OSU, and Cincy, if they all win out? Mark?
I'm rooting for the Pokes. I don't understand how a one-loss Big 12 champion Oklahoma State gets left out in favor of Cincinnati. It literally just makes no sense, especially when that means they would have had to have beat Baylor. They would have had to have beat Oklahoma twice. Their lone loss was in one of the toughest places in America to play in Ames, Iowa, by 3 points. Like, there's not a blemish on their schedule, really, for me to sit there and go, Cincinnati's had a better run. Their one win, signature win, may be better because Oklahoma, the committee has told us, is not really all that impressive of a team. But still, I think Oklahoma State absolutely deserves to win. If they run the table and win out, absolutely deserve to be in there. Now, that said, for today's contest in Bedlam, Oklahoma State's defense is so good, guys, and it's nothing you ever really say about a Big 12 team, and that's really surprising to me. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence. I have a lean in laying it with Oklahoma State in this spot, laying the 4.5, because their defense is good enough to really frustrate a Oklahoma offense that I guess the shine has come off now with Caleb Williams. I mean, you saw that last week against the aforementioned Iowa State, where they needed a fumble recovery to solidify a win there. And I do think, however, because Oklahoma State's offense isn't exactly all that potent, and it's kind of shocking for a Mike Gundy team. I mentioned the teaser. If you want me to take Oklahoma up to 10.5, I think it's another viable option in what will be a very close rivalry game. So that all said, I lean on Oklahoma. Don't necessarily love them. I think you're looking at a very depressed total at 49.5, but I still couldn't play the over because I just don't know that Oklahoma State is going to score 30 or 27, like 27, 24 gets me to the total. Is that possible? Maybe, but I think there's very small windows for that to happen. So I'll lean on Oklahoma State here, laying the 4.5.
Yeah, we're all on Oklahoma State this weekend. Alex, you got them too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing this, but this is just my lean. My lean's Oklahoma State. And, Zeno said everything, as far as like the game and the stats. So I don't need to repeat. What I'm going to bring to the table is conspiracy theories. I love a good conspiracy theory. And you already know where I'm going with this. You already know where I'm going with this, Zeno. What have we been talking about for the past 24 hours with Lincoln Riley? LSU, right? Everyone's talking about Lincoln Riley, LSU. We're looking at his Twitter followers, and you got, the head baseball coach, the head basketball coach following him on Twitter. You got LSU recruits following him on Twitter. There's a lot going on there. And I think that when there's smoke, maybe there's a little bit of fire. Maybe Lincoln's not necessarily locked in there. I don't know. It's a rivalry game. I think maybe Lincoln Riley's head is elsewhere because I don't think he's playing for a spot in the college football playoff. I think if Oklahoma wins, it doesn't matter really as far as the Big 12 is concerned. I think if Oklahoma State wins, they're going to be playing potentially in the college football championship or playoff, not championship. not going to go that far. But I think they're playing for a spot in the playoff, and Oklahoma's playing for nothing. I think Lincoln Riley may be looking elsewhere.
By the way, there still is a way that I truly believe that both Alabama and Cincinnati can make the college football playoff, and it requires Oklahoma State losing either this week or next week. Simply put, a two-loss.
No, it doesn't. It just requires Alabama to beat Georgia in the SEC championship.
Well, I'm saying if Alabama loses, I'm assuming Alabama will lose. A two-loss Bama and Cincinnati both can get in. I mean, the Pac-12 already took care of itself, so it doesn't matter. They're not going to be part of it. We know the ACC is not going to be part of it. If Oklahoma State gets knocked out, now The only challenge here is that whether they would put a one-loss Notre Dame in over
Notre Dame. That's when Brian Kelly sneaks in. That's when he gets in.
I don't believe Alabama. I don't believe Notre Dame, rather, whose best win is over a 3-loss Wisconsin team. Could have been quarterbacked by me. Is an impressive win on their schedule. It's just not. They don't have a single impressive win at all. At least Alabama has some impressive wins over some good SEC teams. So I could see Alabama getting in as a 2-loss team and Cincinnati. And that way you wipe everybody's, angst away. You get a 2-loss team in and a non-Power 5 in the same year, and everybody can shut up.
Mm-hmm. Well, Oklahoma State, back to this game, is 4-2 against the spread, 6-0 straight up at home this year. I think they've been consistently better all season. They've been dominant. I mean, it's playing its best football right now, and they have a chance to reach their first Big 12 championship game. I don't think they're going to waste this moment. I also have them laying the points in this game. Oregon against Oregon State. I have Oregon State in this one. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd take the 7 points with Oregon State as well. Tough to back Oregon in this spot. They just haven't looked great, and they haven't been great at home. And in this spot, Oregon State, I think they've won the past 2 meetings in this rivalry. Mm-hmm. So, Oregon State's playing pretty well. They want to run the football, ground and pound kind of, and I think they're going to be able to do that against this Oregon defense and shorten the game. 7 points, a lot in a rivalry game, even on the road. So I would take the 7 points and pocket them for sure.
Yeah, Mark, with Oregon's playoff chances all but basically finished, is this a spot for Oregon State to steal a game like this?
Well, and you also look at the Mario Cristobal situation, whether he may be departing as a head coach is sort of some of the cloud cover in the background, if you will. But, I mean, let's look at it subjectively, guys, and take some of the emotion of rivalry week out of this whole thing.
You can't do that in college football. You can't. No.
Hold on a second. Let me present the argument before you shoot it down. Jeez, you're like my wife. So, objectively, if Oregon had won last week, what does this number look like? Just based off of the fact that Oregon is a better team than Oregon State. I would argue that this number is probably around 8.5, maybe even 9.5 in that range. And that would be about accurate because Oregon is that much of a better team than Oregon State. And so I do feel like you're getting a little bit of a lower number for Oregon at home than you would based off of the fact that they lost in pretty dramatic fashion last week. Yeah. So that some of that I think is baked into the line of reaction that all of a sudden Oregon's going to have a down game and everything else. What's still on the line for Oregon? A 10-win season, a New Year's Six bowl. I mean, all that is still there, and all that stuff is super, super important to a guy like Mario Cristobal, who's going to have options in front of him. At a minimum, if he wants to stay, he can go back to Oregon and go, guess what? I just brought you to a New Year's Six bowl. Pay me. Like all this stuff, I think objectively goes into it. And I take the well, it's a rivalry game, and they haven't looked good. I know they haven't looked good, and I'm not trying to make the case that they will. But if they won the game by 10, nobody would be shocked. Like that's not a surprise. Oregon's a better team than Oregon State by a considerable margin. If Oregon was that bad, this number would be less than a touchdown. The fact that it's at 7 says to me, I look at this. My math tells me this should be about 8.5. So I feel like I'm getting a little value in Oregon. I lean on them. I'm not playing the game, but I lean on them. Also, again, another prime tease candidate. You want to take me to Oregon -1 at home? Yeah, absolutely. It's a great tease spot for Oregon if you feel like doing it. Again, I'm not advocating
rivalry week. You're just one big tease, huh? That's all. You're just one big tease.
Again, back to my wife. She tells me I'm a tease all the time. But I mean, I just think that there are opportunities this week that I haven't seen in a really long time. It's the only reason I keep going back to it. I'm not necessarily advocating teasing in college. I think it's a bad idea. But that said, I think there are some prime opportunities. But Oregon to win by a field goal at home in a rivalry week, yeah. Okay, I don't have an issue with that. I'll tease them down to -1.
You guys talked about Notre Dame at Stanford. Notre Dame maybe having a chance to make the college football playoff, maybe not. Who knows? It could all be dependent on what happens this week. Notre Dame 3-0 against the spread on the road. They're also 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 games. They're laying 20.5 in this one, Alex. What do you like?
Well, for me, I just, what have I said to you all? Is Notre Dame any good? So, off principle, I cannot lay 2.5 points with Notre Dame. Just so my play for this, it's not a play that I've put in, but I think the only way I see to play this game is the Notre Dame team total over 36.5 points. They're rolling right now, and they need style points if they want to impress the committee. We saw it last week, them put up 55 points and shut out Georgia Tech. I can see something like that happening again in this game because Stanford is that bad. And Notre Dame, again, they just need those style points. They've won their last 6 games by at least 36 points per game. That's the average margin of victory for Notre Dame. So, I don't think they shut out Stanford. I don't know if it gets that ugly here. But Stanford's also been outscored by 32 points per game, in their past, how many games? Past 3 games. So not a good spot for them. So I'm going to take the team total. Everything I just said supports laying the 20.5, but I'm taking the team. Everything I just said supports the 20.5, but just because Lauren's in the show, I cannot lay the 20.5. So I'm going to take the team total.
Lauren, Mark, I see you're laying 18. Did you get that earlier in the week?
Earlier in the week. I don't wait. I don't think long, think wrong. I got it earlier in the week. It was one of my prime plays to look at on Monday and jumped on it because I knew this game was going to balloon up and the public was going to back Notre Dame and the line was going to rise. But still, everything Glaze just said is 100% true. Notre Dame has won 6 in a row since their loss to Cincinnati. Stanford has lost 6 in a row since their win over Oregon. These are 2 teams traveling completely opposite directions. And Notre Dame's defense has been on fire as of late, giving up just 9 points over their last 3 weeks of football. This is the Stanford offense that just doesn't have any punch to it right now. And like Glaze laid out all the numbers, it's there. So call me, Clark Griswold. Get out the hockey mask, pull out the chainsaw because I'm going to be chopping a tree right down and pulling it into my front yard. I'll lay 18. I don't even have any reservations about laying 20. If you get me over 3 touchdowns, if you get me 21.5, I would probably worry the back door might be open. But I'm Clark Griswold in this one, chopping down trees all over the place. Notre Dame rolls.
Hey, Clark, the little lights aren't twinkling.
Thank you. Don't piss me off, Mark.
I'm also taking Notre Dame laying the points in this one. For basically, you guys just took everything that I was going to say. I'm also a big Notre Dame fan. Today would be just a great day if Michigan wins, if Notre Dame wins, and
that's a lot of players. Lauren, after Ohio State wins and covers, you have to send a sad video to all of. Oh, sorry, guys, you guys won't get the video, but. Well, you know what? You should post it on social media. Just bad video of you singing the alma mater. I think that would be,
Okay, and if Michigan wins, you have to do it.
I have. In-show bets. Gotta love it. In-show bets.
Deal. You know what? Deal. You got it.
Shake on it.
We're talking win and cover here. Win and cover, right?
Win and cover.
Okay. Deal.
Yep.
Deal.
Yep. Okay. I like this bet. I like that this kind of matriculated out of nowhere too. Big fan. All right, we can't end the show without talking about our Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Alex, who do you got for this one? Or what do we have?
Well. The 3-star play of the day is actually coming from yours truly. And I'm gonna give out here. We're gonna do 2 things at once here. We're gonna give out the 3-star play that's on the website, and we're gonna give out my play of the day because they're related. So the 3-star play on the way that's on the web, 3-star play of the day that's on the website is Georgia minus 35. We talked about this earlier in the show. Georgia is going to come out and they should just be able to do whatever they want to Georgia Tech. This game is going to get as ugly as Kirby Smart wants it to get. There is no reason to back Georgia Tech in this spot. They have one of the worst defenses in the country. Georgia is going to try to just get out of this game healthy, and they're not concerned in the second half about necessarily running the score up. But 35 in the first half is not out of the question for this Georgia team. We've seen them do it this year against bad teams. So lay the 35 points with Georgia. And my play of the day is Georgia minus 21 first half. For all the reasons that I just said, Georgia is going to come out. Georgia Tech is not going to be able to score enough in the first half to cover the 21 points. It's going to get ugly quickly in Atlanta today.
Ooh.
So all Georgia,
baby. I know the city of Atlanta would absolutely love that. Mark, who do you got for your best bet?
I'll give out 2 of them here real quick. I love A&M. I'll lay the 6.5 down in Death Valley in LSU. I mean, does LSU really, being 1 game away from bowl eligible, do they really want to prolong the agony of Ed Orgeron patrolling the sidelines anymore? I think not. A&M, however, looking for a possibility of a 10-win season. If they get to they win this week in their bowl game, they get 10 wins coming off the year that they had last year. Jimbo Fisher clearly coaching with some semblance of his future on the line from the standpoint of how much more he's going to be there. But this is a short number. If I'm getting under a touchdown, the A&M defense will not allow the LSU offense to score more than 17 points in this game, at least by my math. And so I have no reservations about laying the points with A&M at 6.5. And also turn to the ACC. I'm going to lay the 12.5 with Pittsburgh, a team that wants to book their spot in the ACC championship game. I know the game's on the road in the Carrier Dome, but Syracuse's offense hasn't scored more than 21 in 3 consecutive weeks. Pittsburgh's defense has done a fantastic job against the run and is really, really stout. And so the offense with Kenny Pickett, expect another 3 or 4 touchdown performance. They should roll handily in this one. I'll lay it with the Panthers.
I wonder what Lauren's play of the day is going to be.
What do you mean? Huh? What are you talking about? I don't even know what my play of the day is. Michigan and the points, and I'm sprinkling on the Michigan money line. I'm not going to recommend the Michigan money line as my best bet of the day, but I'm doing it. It's my alma mater. I got to root for my team. You can't not root for your team, right? But my best bet of the day is Michigan plus 7.5. I really do think that they're going to keep this game close. I think that they're going to stick to their game plan. I think that they're going to scrap it out. I think that they're going to end up winning. Not by a lot, but at least covering this game. 7.5. I locked it in at 7.5. I like that a lot. I just have a really good feeling about this game. Oh no. This happened last time too. All of my batteries are dying today, you guys.
No, your computer just said you're done.
Oh, today is just not the day for my computer. Here we go. That was a quick bounce back though. Took an L, but Michigan's gonna bounce back. That's all I gotta say about that. That's all I gotta say about that.
Last thing I'm going to say about the game.
Also, I like this camera angle better because you can see my full shirt with it.
Last thing I'm going to say about the game, and then we'll just settle it, and you'll see who's posting the video on social media singing the alma mater with, less than happy sounds coming out of their voice. Ohio State has won 5 of the past 6 meetings by double digits.
I mean, but who did they play?
Michigan. They played Michigan, literally.
No,
they played a Jim Harbaugh-led Michigan.
This is the best Michigan team that Jim Harbaugh has coached since 2016. They weren't
see,
even that.
Look, we got like an hour. We'll see.
Their defense is the best defense that Ohio State's going to be going up against this year. And I think that I don't think they're going to shut CJ Stroud down. I don't think that they're going to shut Ohio State's offense down. Here's the biggest thing for me. If Michigan's offense can keep Ohio State's offense off the field, that's going to be a huge way for them to be able to keep this game close. And then when Michigan's defense is on the field, I trust them too. You said their secondary isn't that good. They're not bad. They're just not amazing. They're better than Michigan State's last weekend. And I think that if they're able to get to CJ Stroud, I think that this game is going to be really, really close. Here's the thing though. If there's any separation whatsoever, if Ohio State's up by 10 points, good night to Michigan because they're not going to keep it close. If it's a one-score game, back and forth, it's going to be a close game, and I think Michigan covers. Not only covers, but maybe, hopefully.
You got fans in the chat. Muhammad Aslam saying, let's go Big Blue. You got fans in the chat.
Let's go. A lot of Michigan fans. I'm loving this. Let's go, guys. People know what's up. They know the trendy thing to do. They know the cool thing to do.
We'll see.
Let's go. It's going to be a throwdown showdown at the big
one. I'm chirping all afternoon. You know that I know you're not working. I'm going to blow your phone up. I don't even care if you text me back. I'm one of those people. I will rattle off 30 texts.
I'm going to have like 27 text messages. I know. I feel like send me a text message for every single point that Ohio State scores, and I'll try to text you back for every single point that Michigan scores. We'll see who
one text per point or per score?
Per point. Okay, deal. Yeah. It can just be one letter, one word, one exclamation point. I don't even care what it is. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. This has been so much fun. Good luck. Best of luck on your bets today. Best of luck to our Pickswise Nation. Let's see what happens. And we'll break it all down tomorrow. Because guess what? We'll be right back here, 10 a.m. to break down some NFL Week 12 and maybe talk a little bit about Week 13 college football because we're going to all be rich by the end of the day today, hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right, guys. Have a great one. Let's get it. Let's bet it. Best of luck. Have a good Saturday.